Initially, she said a month ago that she would testify if we granted her immunity of oversight committee. And we discussed that after we met with the survivors. They didn't support that, so we never considered it as that. So this is something you today, obviously, that's what President, he doesn't rule it out.
And in the hour, after the hour, we would open a bank account, an Instagram page, would have a website up, a Substack, all that open. And we ain't even figured out why we are meeting, what we are meeting, and who we represent. We lost Reverend Jim Lawson. James Lawson said, regarding the Nashville movement, the first 6 months, we discussed why we were meeting. The next 6 months, we discussed what we wanted to do. That was a year of just talking and strategizing. So what I believe the failure that we see, and I can speak from this perch of doing this show, this just didn't just happen. Oh, this was like plan. And when Alfred Liggins said, I'm canceling News One now, I was sitting there looking at him and I was like, when I leave this room, I'm calling so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. The first state of our union, was at Antioch in February of 2018. The reason we could do that is because I already owned all the cameras, the switcher, and the lights. I'd already bought the infrastructure. To do the broadcast. We just bought them stools you see. We bought those stools. So what people don't understand, this is where our failure is. If you're watching right now and you want to impact November, you can't wait until October. You must right now decide, okay, if I want to impact, so if you're in North Carolina and you say, I want Roy Cooper to win.
Well, so they didn't start to burn and pillage until they decided, well, all right, we have to teach them a lesson. The Ku Klux decided we have to teach them a lesson. So actually, we as children didn't hear any noise or.
We learned your French. We learned your English. We learned your Spanish. We learned your Dutch. We learned your Portuguese. You learned our nothing. You called us stupid. That's white privilege.
Want to start a podcast but not sure how? Riverside has got you covered. First, go to riverside.fm and open an account. When you're ready to record, just hit record to capture high-quality audio and video, all from the comfort of, anywhere. Even if the only camera you have is on your phone. With Riverside, you'll still look like a pro. The equipment doesn't matter. You'll get a professional-looking podcast using anything you already have at home.
A few people are starting to talk about this image right here, of the black nobility, and this is something that we're going to get into at a later date. I'm just waiting. But people are asking questions, and one of the questions I was asked is the black nobility higher than the Masons? The answer to that is no. See, when it comes to masonry is just a system that could be used in an agreeable way and a system that could be used in a disagreeable way. It is a system of secrecy. It is loyalty and honor.
She walked into.
A few people are starting to talk about this image right here, A few people are starting to talk about this image right here, of the black nobility, and this is something that we're going to get into at a later date. I'm just waiting. But people are asking questions, and one of the questions I was asked is the black nobility higher than the Masons? The answer to that is no. See, when it comes to masonry is just a system that could be used in an agreeable way and a system that could be used in a disagreeable way.
the Trump bond avalanche and how we're to protect our have a record that you have to do it. Applying the Department of Justice manual to these prosecutors. They can be part of the record. And they can be charged with the law. So hit subscribe, check out podcast as well. Wherever audio podcasts are used, just search Mike. Leave a 5-star review. Very much welcome. Your business all year long. Every deduction in books, the quarterly title. Collectives, AI, and expert focus. So you never prepare your business as close as so you never miss a deadline. Your membership also you're great customized with lots of thousands unique take result down 50% for 2 months when you go to collective. Yes, collective.com/minus.
You know, every new year we say that we're finally going to launch that thing we've been dreaming about, the idea that's been sitting in our notes app, the skill everyone keeps telling us to turn into a business. But the truth is, taking action is what changes everything. January is short. Don't let February show the story. 2026 is the year that you rewrite your future. The most powerful move that you can make is to start your business with Shopify. 2026 is the year that you launch your business, the year you transform into an entrepreneur, founder, boss. One powerful move puts your future firmly in your hands. Starting a business with Shopify. Maybe you've got an idea that you can't shake, a craft everyone tells you to sell, a store you've already designed in your head. Well, with Shopify, 2026 is when you finally make it happen. Shopify gives you everything you need to sell online and in person. Millions of entrepreneurs have already made this leap from household names to first-time business owners just getting started. Shopify gives you all the tools to easily build your dream store. Choose from hundreds of beautiful templates that you can customize your brand. Set up Shopify's built-in AI tools that write product descriptions and headlines and help you edit product photos. Marketing is built in too. Create email and social campaigns that reach customers wherever they scroll. And as you grow, Shopify grows with you. Handle more orders, expand to new markets, and do it all from the same dashboard. In 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Midas. Go to shopify.com/Midas. That's shopify.com/Midas, MEIDAS. Hear your first this new year with Shopify by your side.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in the description, both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. There's an exit survey. Let them know we sent you. We use Shopify here. So just if you have not checked it out, store.midastouch.com. Get your pro democracy gear all there. Store.midastouch.com. Shopify's been really cool for us. So rad. For us pulling up some of the Play the Clip merch. That's our new collection that we got there. So yeah, definitely check that out. Store.midastouch.com. Benji, where'd you guys?
Just look at these headlines from the past week, using just the Wall Street Journal and New York Times as headline exemplars. Trump posts video online depicting the Obamas as apes. Trump calls U.S. skier in the Winter Olympics a loser as politics ripples through Olympic Games. Trump scolds CNN's Caitlin Collins for not smiling when she was asking about Epstein child sex trafficking. And then you could have added on to that, Donald Trump attacks Bad Bunny and says that a performance where Bad Bunny said, "Together we are America, love beats hate, let's come together," the most un-American thing ever. Donald Trump posts that. I'll just mention it briefly because these things have happened, but this is Donald Trump's behavior every single day, right? He is of the Epstein class. He is engaged in demented, sick, evil behavior, grotesque behavior that absolutely needs to be called out in clear terms. To me, it's not enough to say he made a racist post. No, I think you need to say that he posted a photo of apes that the heads of former President Obama and Michelle Obama photoshopped on. And then he said that the post was very strong about election fraud. That's what he said. And that he won't apologize for it. Right? It's sickening. It wasn't just that he said to Caitlin Collins, "Why don't you smile?" It was that he said it in response to her asking about child sex trafficking. Yeah, the problem with you is that you don't smile. You're like a young woman who doesn't smile. Smile more. Right? You have that. You have Donald Trump attacking an Olympian, an American who's competes in freestyle skiing because he said, "I have conflicting emotions right now because there's so much that I love about this country, but then also there's things that I don't like masked ICE agents and border patrol out there abducting people. And so just because I'm wearing the American flag doesn't mean that I support all of that conduct," which Donald Trump posted. U.S. Olympic skier Hunter House, a real loser, says he doesn't represent his country in the current Winter Olympics. If that's the case, he shouldn't have tried out for the team. And it's too bad he's on it. Very hard to root for someone like this. Make America great again. Right. Domino's best deal. Any pizza with any toppings for just $9.99. Good Daddy Arrow just texted us. Yeah, they use AI to recommend social posts for us. No guesswork. So we can basically just hang out.
Reach more customers. GoDaddy Arrow Plus can.
I'm just so looking forward to the day in a post-Trump era where we
can have a leader of the United States conduct themselves with dignity, to respect our Olympian athletes, to not post these vile racist memes, right? That should be the bare minimum. To take allegations of child sex trafficking seriously, right? These times, oh, this is politicized. No, it's Donald Trump and MAGA politicizing everything. Even a Bad Bunny halftime performance, which was beautiful, which actually didn't say anything about ICE or Border Patrol, which it could have, right? It was just someone who said, together we are America, you know, we love each other, let's love each other, respect, unity, dignity. And they're like, oh my God, this guy's not speaking English. This is so divisive. This is what you're in. I wish that you would give a fraction of the acre that you have to Bad Bunny, to a child sex trafficking ring that's taking place. So I just wanted you to trust in Donald Trump's post, but I want to focus on what the cover-up that's taking place as it relates to the child sex trafficking. Here's what Democratic Congressman Laurel Combs said regarding Ghislaine Maxwell's deposition, where she refused to answer any questions.
I submitted to Comer a letter, 6 or 7 questions. Things like, who were the other co-conspirators? Who were the other men who raped these underage girls? Had any conversations about to deal with Donald Trump? And she's taking a blanket Fifth Amendment on any question. And there are many questions. But there's specific. The fifth question. To be having hearings with the survivors, from them, their experiences, so they can explain what they could next point. They can begin to set forth a theory of what took place. We need to be investigating the money. We need to be investigating the organizational hierarchy. There's no way we run a $1 billion international committing claims. Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. We need to figure out what other conspiracies were involved, what other conspirators were involved. And I really do believe that listening to the survivors is going to be our pathway through this nightmare.
Next, here's what Jamie Raskin said about Trump's lawyers speaking with Epstein, as seen in some of these redactions. Let's play it.
Right, and well-known individuals. For example, Mr. Wexner, his name was redacted from a government document And I couldn't understand the logic of that. He was not the victim, and his name has appeared other places. Now, the Department of Justice has not sent forth its so-called privilege log, so it's not explained yet why there might be certain redactions that have been made. I saw one document which was an email that was sent by Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, which was the forward of an email that he had received from some of his lawyers, giving an account of a conversation between Epstein lawyers and Trump lawyers and others about what had taken place during that 2009 period. It was during the period of the 2009 investigation. And Epstein's lawyers synopsized and quoted Trump as saying that Jeffrey Epstein was not a member of his club at Mar-a-Lago, but he was a guest at Mar-a-Lago, and he had never been asked to leave. And that was redacted for some indeterminate, inscrutable reason. I know it seems to be at odds with some things that President Trump has been saying recently about how he had kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club or asked him to leave, and this was at least one report that appears to contradict one of it.
And there's more clips of Congressman West, but I think we get the point there. He goes on to talk about how DOJ had one job: redact the names, personal identifying information, photos of the victims and survivors. They did not do that. So it was either done recklessly or maliciously, right? And maybe a combination of both. But then when it came to the Epstein class, that's where all of these redactions are. And we're not even talking about the fact that there were still about 3 million documents, which may be as many as 25 to 50 million pages that are being hidden right now by the DOJ, which I believe are the most devastating.
Yeah, it's really horrifying. And, if Raskin was able to see that with his limited time in there, just imagine if he actually had full access to see everything for an unlimited amount of time. These documents are not difficult to parse through, but they take time. And I've been spending so much time digging through the publicly available ones. And if I were just given, a couple hours and a few computers with time constraints, I don't know how I would even be able to do that job. But the fact is, everything we've been fed from this Department of Justice has been a lie. There have been so many inconsistencies throughout this entire investigation, going back to Trump's first term and far before that, where things just don't add up. And there are so many inconsistencies that you can't help but thinking that they're covering something up and covering something up big. I mean, you see these FBI documents where they say that, FBI said that nobody else. It's outrageous. The guy who was theories in order to Trump's enemies. But now that Kash Patel actually is, he starts is learning up. I think that because the fact then it was, government. And they're all trying. All these days of all the truth. I think we would be glad that we're actually like you're harassing us. That thing.
That's why those names were. It's like. Oh, come on. And it's just ultimately more questions. This is not going to go one person that I'm talking about. Point and point. Way you track the American people from even sending someone Rokana said you need to send her one fan. Eat your office. What about the concept looking for immunity for calling names? Twist facts. Strap. Is that there? Your beat awful. And it's just enraged. Canada.
Of the United States of America.
Yes, Putin tax. To attack. Let's talk about. Reminder. Podcast. Podcast. Helps us be able to do audio podcast tonight. A lot. Take care of that. Every. Wrong. Or in water. I know. We even drink it. That's and rosemary help your body significantly more. And to help 8 years ago, I testing see if we could improve. You saw that realize something. Herbs are. Whatever they're dealing. We are it's not enough. We're waiting. I will go AI to work. AI, our ERP. And CRM. Data. Smart. Intelligent. Let editors do that.
You see the other thing? The bottles of cream that I got today. The bottles of that. There's green leaves up in the strawberry. Sorry, we cut them off.
Hot sleeper, cold sleeper, doesn't matter. All night long. Upgrade your sleep or give the gift a better rest. Try Miracle.com/Midas to try Miracle Made Sheets today. You'll save over 40%, and when you use the promo code Midas, you'll get an extra 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel set. They make for an amazing gift, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. That's trymiracle.com/Midas, code Midas at checkout. Thanks to Miracle Made for sponsoring this episode. Let's go. Shout out Miracle Made then. They've been sponsoring us for since we started the podcast. Definitely check those out. I love my Miracle Made sheets. Link in the description of YouTube and the audio. In the comments, first off, yourself. And so they have there's this start up. What? Part of the division. You get all screaming about try to pretend that they're constantly trying never he goes, well,
telling you right, especially
made by top-notch chefs I've watched on TV. Plus, there are literally dozens of diet filters and cuisines, and all my cravings are delivered right to my door. Today, you can get 50% off your first week. Sign up and thank me later.
You're the person who's debating with nobody. You're just on state regime media talking about an issue that Americans actually aren't debating. Overwhelmingly, this was a great show. And you're missing the opportunity, intentionally, to talk about a cover-up of a child sex trafficking ring and Americans getting screwed by this Trump regime because you're intentionally engaged in a cultural issue, frankly, against your own people in your district in order to distract from all of the things that people are really going through. What a very big opportunity lost. And then you have the audacity to mention the contributions of undocumented people while your Fuhrer is rounding up migrants, undocumented and documented, and stripping away people with TPS documentation and throwing them into concentration camps, and might I add, not giving them habeas corpus petition rights? Interesting, right? That Ghislaine Maxwell invoking habeas corpus petitions after being found guilty of sex trafficking, and actual human beings who have habeas corpus rights getting lost in the system as they rot in concentration camps like Dilley and Delaney and other ones throughout this country. Interesting how that works, huh? All of that's going on. Turning to international news for a second, you had Donald Trump earlier today attacking Canada and saying that China will be taking away Canada's Stanley Cups, and they're taking away the right to play ice hockey. That's what they call it in Canada. We like to play our ice hockey in Canada. Trump is posting here that Canada won't let a new bridge open. Let me just read what he said. As everyone knows, the country of Canada has treated the United States very unfairly for decades. No one knows that. Now things are turning around and fast. But imagine, Canada is building a massive bridge between Ontario and Michigan. They own both the Canada and United States side, and of course, built it with virtually no U.S. content. Barack Hussein Obama stupidly gave them a waiver so they could get around the Buy American Act and not use any American products, including our steel. Now the Canadian government expects me, as President of the United States, to permit them to just take advantage of America. What does the United States of America get? Absolutely nothing. Ontario will even put U.S. spirits, beverages, and other alcoholic products on their shelves. They are absolutely prohibited from doing so. Now, on top of everything, Prime Minister Carney wants to make a deal with China, which will eat Canada alive. We will just get the leftovers. I don't think so. The first thing China will do is terminate all ice hockey being played in Canada and permanently eliminate the Stanley Cup. The tariffs Canada charged their dairy products have for many years been unacceptable, putting our farmers at great financial risk. I will not allow this bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated for everything we have given them. And also importantly, Canada treats the United States with the fairness and respect we deserve. We will start negotiations immediately. With all that we have given them, we should own perhaps at least 1/2 of this asset. The revenues generated because of the U.S. market will be astronomical.
thank you for your attention to this matter. He's a predator. He is a predator just like Putin. And these are the Putin tactics right here. And as Josh Wingrove says, it's difficult to boil down the bridge socket discussed for years by officials and lawmakers of every major party in both countries, in part to make sure the continent's top trade corridor wasn't beholden to a single privately owned bridge. The U.S. would have split the cost. Canada fronted and is going to be repaid by tolls. Named for Gordie Howe, hockey legend, and Canadian-born Detroit Red Wing star, as a big nod, as you can imagine, to the country's joint history. And now, here's what Donald Trump is doing. These are the Putin tactics that we discussed. Now, speaking about the Putin tactics, I did a whole video on this earlier this morning, where as part of what was going on in the United Arab Emirates, was in pieces. And by the way, you had Kushner and Witkoff purposely not dressed in suits, as they made the Ukrainian delegation wear suits. I just think that should be noted because it was an intentional FU to the Ukrainians, because they said they wouldn't have discussions with the Ukrainians unless the Ukrainians dressed up. And then Witkoff wore like a jumpsuit, and Kushner wore like a regular sweater or whatever. And it's just he's got a deep knee. Yeah, it looks like he's like one of the Sopranos, like character. Like it looks like a Soprano. No undershirt? No undershirt, like a Soprano gold chain. Like what the hell are we even doing here? And what was really going down here when Zelensky uncovered is that this was part of the plan between Putin and Trump to get Ukraine to fully surrender. The U.S. demanded that regardless of any ceasefire, that Ukraine agree to do elections and agree to a referendum of turning over Ukraine to Russia in May or June the latest. And Zelensky has said, if you want me to do a referendum, there needs to be at least a 30-day or 60-day ceasefire. How can we do elections if our people are getting killed? And Putin has refused anything, not even a 30-day ceasefire to allow elections, right? And so what Putin did do at UAE is through this guy, Kirill Dmitriev, who runs the sovereign wealth fund in Russia. He was the guy who met with Witkoff and Kushner in Miami, along with Ushakov, before, right when the U.S. started talking about making Landry, the governor of Louisiana, the envoy to Greenland, and started talking about annexing Greenland. That happened when you had Dmitriev in Miami meeting with the U.S. individuals. So then Dmitriev proposed what's being called the Dmitriev package, $12 trillion of Russia to Donald Trump. Russia's entire annual GDP is $2 trillion. So Russia's told the U.S., we'll give you $12 trillion, but you got to have these elections in Ukraine by May. We're not going to agree to a ceasefire. And the U.S. is delaying, saying that we don't have the resources to give PAC-3 missiles, which are the new missiles that go into the Patriot system, the air defense that Ukraine has. The issue is when you get this U.S. military here, you have to rely on U.S. for maintenance and further equipment once you buy it. So if you buy the F-35s, you have to rely on the U.S. Department of Defense for repairs and maintenance and parts, which is why countries like Canada are like, why would we buy F-35s now? And Denmark's regretted buying F-35s, because if you buy the F-35s, you're going to be beholden to the U.S. for the life cycle of these planes. And if Trump wants to extort you, he can just say, I'm not giving you the parts. That's what's happening, in my opinion, in Ukraine right now, while they try to force it. By the way, is this getting reported on anywhere else other than the Biden stuff? Like, you would think this is a pretty big deal, right? That there's this $12 trillion big deal taking place, and the U.S. is trying to force the surrender on Ukraine. It just doesn't get any attention anywhere. And I find, and I speak when I speak with Senator Bernie Sanders about this a lot, that the most important issues are often the ones that are least discussed. And I know front and center on American minds right now is AI and data centers. That's one of the top issues. You know, obviously healthcare, being able to afford homes, affordability generally. But this issue of AI and data centers destroying jobs is a massive issue that Americans are horribly fearful of. And it doesn't exactly help people's fears when you have people like Donald Trump's National Economic Advisor, Kevin Hassett, go on TV and say basically, well, it is what it is. There's, job creation's going to lag, but, what can you do? Watch Hassett earlier today.
let's play this clip.
The open question really is, what's going to happen to jobs as productivity goes up? And I think that there's a chance that job creation lags. Productivity skyrockets, profits skyrocket, GDP skyrocket, but then all of a sudden, like you're making 20 widgets and you make 20 widgets with a fewer person, and then that person has to find a new job. I think that kind of transition could happen.
Here's Hassett again.
The other thing is that there's a pretty big decline in the labor force because illegals leave the country. And so the break-even job number is quite a bit lower than it was under Joe Biden when there were people, basically coming across the border willy-nilly. And so I think that you should expect slightly smaller job numbers that are consistent with high GDP growth right now. And that one should panic if you see explosive numbers that are lower than you're used to, because again, population growth is going down and productivity growth is skyrocketing. It's an unusual set of circumstances.
And let's see, are non-college educated white voters and non-college educated voters who form the backbone of Trump's base, are they buying this?
If you know anything about Donald Trump, you know that he built his 2 presidential victories on winning voters without a college degree. Well, Donald Trump's base with non-college voters is absolutely collapsing. What are we talking about here? Well, why don't we just take a look? Voters without a college degree on Donald Trump. Look at this. Back in 2024, he won those voters over Kamala Harris by 14 points. You come over to this side of the screen. What's his net approval rating with him? He is underwater by 9 points. That's a 23-point switcheroo with his base of non-college voters. He is absolutely collapsing with a group of voters that helped put him into the White House case.
I'll just show you one more on the economy. How do people view Trump on the economy? Let's play this.
Staggering. You know, the economy used to be the wing beneath Donald Trump's presidency wings, and now it's a Titanic. Because what are we talking about here? Well, let's just take a look here. Trump's economic net approval 1 year in. In term one, hey, yeah, what's the highlight here? +8 points. It was his best issue, arguably. But now it's one of his worst. Look at that. Way down in the basement, 18 points below water. What is that, John? Quickly submit. What is that, a 26-point switcheroo in the wrong direction? This is the type of number that Democratic midterm dreams are made of in Republican.
Brett, Jory, Harriet, and Cecily.
Before Brett gets like a student, I just want to, I like him. I'm going to use the G word. He's the GOAT, man. That guy cracks me up, dude. What a talk. I mean, I love the whole show. I like people at least
You like his stick. You like his such a stick.
And he likes his job, and I just respect the hell out of that. Sorry, Brett, go.
He's committed, I'll say this. I'm not sure I agree with you, but you're entitled to your opinion. But he's certainly committed to that shtick. He knows that there's a lane for that shtick.
There's a total lane, and he's feeling it.
He's definitely committed to it. But you see, I think one of the things that you'll see in tying, all these various topics together is that Donald Trump is constantly trying to protect those people in the Epstein class, whether it's, from crimes that they may have committed or whether it's from any sort of economic effects. He's trying to preserve their wealth. He's trying to grow their wealth. He's trying to make sure that they're as rich as possible. And he really doesn't care what regular people are going through. He doesn't care if regular people are getting hurt by AI data centers and the water extraction that's a result of that, or the power that's being used and the bills that are increasing because of that. He doesn't care at all, as long as Kevin Hassett said there with a smile, productivity is going up, even though all these people are losing their jobs. It's a great thing, kind of unusual, right? But isn't that fantastic? They are bragging about it. And what you see Donald Trump doing is he is just doing things constantly to enrich those people in the Epstein class, to enrich the billionaire class, at the expense of the people who were previously, as Harry Hinton was saying, those non-college educated Trump voters, and just Americans in general, kind of working class Americans. And we see this especially as a result of the clean energy. This is like one of the kind of clearest examples that exist there, because already, as of this moment right now, Donald Trump has already canceled or delayed enough projects that would account for power for more than 13 million homes across the United States. And this is while everyone's bills are skyrocketing. You could tell me right now, I'll look at the comments. Are your electricity bills up or are they down? Because I'm seeing already people are saying that your electricity bills are up and are going way up. And I've heard this from so many people. So why would Donald Trump cancel 335 clean energy projects, delay them, strip them of funding, if those projects could actually help bring these bills down? Well, it's because Trump is deliberately blocking them or slowing these federal approvals or piling on red tape to get in the way of these projects, to block these projects, while he's making it easier for companies, for oil, gas, and coal companies to operate. Do you guys see the new Trump administration mascot? And this is beyond parody. In fact, I think I saw it on a parody on late night shows. And when I saw this, I thought this was a joke at first. But they made a mascot named Coley. And I have a picture up of Coley right here to make coal accessible and make coal seem great and cool for all the American people, to push coal on people. I'm showing this image of Coley, who they're spreading this little cartoon coal image who they put in pictures with other people in the Trump administration. But it's very clear what they're doing. They're blocking all of this kind of clean energy policy, all these various projects that would actually bring down the cost of goods for people and help people. And in many cases, the jobs that come from these projects are actually primarily in red states in so many cases. But Donald Trump doesn't care about that. He'd rather enrich the oil and gas industry than actually help people lower prices. Also, he could just destroy clean energy. And it's all a part of this kind of protection racket that we've been seeing across all of these various topics that we've been speaking about today.
Coley is something you would hear at a South Park episode. And it's it is so, the whole thing, man. I think I went a little too far in the last segment calling Harry Epton the GOAT. Maybe he's not the GOAT, but he's definitely having a moment. So I want that back. The South Park character was Cowley. I know. Yeah. Okay. This is a real post from Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum. Mine, baby, mine. Donald Trump made it a top priority for the Interior to unleash big, beautiful coal, leading the charge. Learn more about how we're advancing Trump's American energy dominance with our new spokesperson, Coley. Mine, baby, mine. Mine, baby, mine.
By the way, I'm just about 100% sure, too, they made this image with AI.
Make image of me and coal, this is some ridiculous things, but this is, as we said, this is what the Epstein class does. This is what these predators do. These are horrible people. These are horrible, evil people who behave that way. And I hope one of the themes that you see in this episode is that there's really not a lot of things that I said, which is I'm like, this is why you need to vote Democrat. Right? This is why you need to vote for the Democratic candidate over the Republican candidate. I just want you to take all this information, okay, and I want you to take a step back. And I truly want you to reflect on everything that we just shared. I want you to draw your own. It's not for me, frankly, to tell you. And I'm very resistant to having the role. That's why you need to vote this person or that person. That's why I don't like reporting on the primary. This person's beating this person, this person. It's just not really exciting. That's not what interests me about the show or about teaching, about what I do. What interests me is taking all this information out there, simplifying it, showing you the themes, and then allowing you to make these decisions feeling empowered. That's what the show to me is about more than anything else. So let's do that. You have the information, share it. Share it, and with Colby. Share it with Colby. Colby's the most ridiculous thing ever. I want to thank everybody for watching. We're grateful for you. Make sure you subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Subscribe on audio and video. Leave a 5-star review on audio. Join, become a member of this YouTube channel. That's one of the main ways we grow. We appreciate you all so much. And let's get to 6 million. Joy, you take it away. Shout out to the Minus Mighty. stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Rob Gronkowski, every episode of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MidasPlus.com.
Fanatics Sports Book, every bet feels rewarded. Use Fandash to boost, bet, and have the process of the Fanatics world. Earn up to 10% Fandash on your bet.
Our local tax expert will do your taxes for $150 all in. They know your situation from self-employment to W-2s. $150 to get your taxes done by a local expert.
Thanks to Adele for joining us this hour. Really happy to have you here this President's Day. Happy President's Day. The first U.S. president to live in the White House was the second U.S. president, was John Adams. John Adams moved into the White House in November of the year 1800. Before that, while he was president, but before he moved into the White House, before the White House was complete, John Adams lived in Philly. Both John Adams, the nation's second president, and George Washington, the nation's first president, they both lived in Philadelphia in the 1790s while the U.S. Capitol and the White House were being built in D.C. And that house in Philadelphia, where both George Washington and John Adams lived while they each served as president. That house has a really interesting story. Accidentally, the last remaining walls of that house were, by accident, torn down in the 1950s. That was the last standing portion of the house was accidentally demolished in the 1950s. Decades later, once archaeologists and historians figured out for sure where that president's house had been, the city got involved. They bought the land, they preserved everything they could, and ultimately that site was reopened as a National Historic Site. Today it is sort of an open-air pavilion where you can see the shape of the president's house. You can see the foundations of the original building. They've got artifacts there from the time that George Washington and John Adams lived in that house. And while John Adams was from Massachusetts, while Adams was not a slaveholder, George Washington was. George Washington had 8 people who were enslaved to him, who he brought from Virginia to that house in Philadelphia to serve him while he was president. He later brought an additional enslaved person from Virginia to Philadelphia to that house, making it a total of 9. And that is all part of the history there at this historic site in Philadelphia. Now, you probably heard about the fact that over this past year, President Donald Trump ordered the physical removal of all references to slaves and slavery at that National Historic Site. Well, today, a big change in that case. Today, happy President